Buried for 1,700 years, for nearly 1,700 years, it sat in silence. Beneath farmland that looked ordinary, beneath soil that had been turned, planted, and harvested for centuries, it waited. A farmer, carrying nothing more than his shovel, walked the same path his family had worked for generations. He raised the shovel, struck the earth, and suddenly the world changed. The sound was not the dull thud of iron hitting rock. It was sharper, like striking a tile floor. Confused, he drove the shovel in again. The soil gave way, and a faint shimmer broke through the dirt. At first he thought it was pottery, something discarded, broken, forgotten. But as he brushed away more soil, patterns emerged. Straight lines, curved edges, fragments too deliberate to be natural. It was a floor, a mosaic, crafted by human hands nearly 17 centuries earlier. He crouched, running his fingers across the strange surface. Reds and blues still clung to the tiles, and in the cracks, turquoise stone reflected the sun for the first time since the days of Rome. His pulse quickened. This was no rock, no discarded pottery. This was a doorway into another time. Word spread quickly. Neighbors came to see. Some thought it was nothing. Some thought it was treasure. But when archaeologists arrived, everything changed. They expected little, perhaps fragments, perhaps a ruined wall. What they found was far greater. Beneath the soil lay a Roman bathhouse, a spa complex built with care and intention. Its mosaic still intact, its walls still holding secrets. The archaeologists worked carefully. They mapped the site, laying out grids with string and wooden stakes. The soil was brushed away inch by inch, each stone revealed like a page turned in a forgotten book. Tools scraped gently, revealing channels that once carried water. Piles of broken pottery, discarded oil lamps, and fragments of marble emerged from the soil. Every artifact was a voice, whispering of lives once lived here. And as the site unfolded, so did the mystery. Why had such a grand structure, built with wealth and skill, disappeared from memory? How had it survived when wars, fires, and time erased so many others? For the farmer, it was an accident. For archaeologists, it was a revelation. For history, it was a challenge. Because this bathhouse was not supposed to exist, not here, not unrecorded, not forgotten. To understand why this discovery mattered, we must understand what the baths meant to Rome. Bathing was not just hygiene. It was culture, it was ritual, it was politics. From the poorest citizen to the emperor himself, baths were central to daily life. They were equal parts spa, community hall, and political stage. Romans called them thermae. They were built in every corner of the empire, from the chilly edges of Britain to the burning sands of North Africa. Wherever Rome went, the baths followed. They were symbols of power, of order, of Rome's promise that even far from the city, the empire could deliver comfort, luxury, and civilization. Inside the bathhouses were marvels of engineering. Heated floors warmed by hippocausts, furnaces that pumped hot air through hollow bricks, pools of varying temperatures, the frigidarium for cold plunges, the tepidarium for warmth, the caldarium for steam so heavy it wrapped the body like a blanket. Some baths had exercise yards, libraries, gardens, even shops. The newly uncovered bathhouse showed that even in this remote region, Rome brought not just its soldiers, but its way of life. It was not enough to conquer with swords. Rome conquered with stone, with water, with luxury. And in this place, the mosaic floors still whispered of that reach. Picture the scene nearly 1,700 years ago. Citizens filing into the spa, soldiers weary from patrols, merchants seeking rest after long days in the market, even slaves permitted to wash the dust from their skin. The air inside thick with steam, the floor warm beneath their feet. Voices echoing against the tiled walls, conversations blending with the sound of splashing water. Here, gossip traveled faster than any messenger. Deals were struck in whispers. Friendships were forged. Enemies sized one another up across the pools. Bathhouses blurred lines of class. The poor and the powerful could sit side by side, stripped of their armor, their robes, their wealth. In the steam, all men were equal, at least for a time. Women had their own hours, their own chambers, their own rituals. Oil was rubbed into skin, scraped away with strigils. Musicians sometimes played in the background. Vendors sold bread and wine. The baths were not just for cleansing the body. They were for cleansing the mind, for strengthening the bonds of community, for reinforcing what it meant to be Roman. This was not luxury for luxury's sake. This was Rome declaring its identity in stone and water. And now, with the discovery of this forgotten spa, we see just how deep that identity stretched. The placement of this spa raises questions. Why here? Why in this village, far from the empire's core? Bathhouses were expensive. They required architects, engineers, and constant supplies of fuel and water. They were not built in random villages. They were statements. This one proves that Rome's hand stretched further than we thought. It suggests wealth flowed through this region, enough to sustain such a project. It challenges our maps, forcing us to redraw the outlines of Rome's shadow. Other great bathhouses are well known. The baths of Caracalla in Rome, vast enough to hold thousands. The baths of Bath in England, still fed by hot springs. But this spa had slipped through time unnoticed, unrecorded. Its silence is as important as its survival. Because if Rome built here, where else did it build? And how much of that has already been lost? History does not lose places like this without reason. There are theories. War. This land saw invasions, shifting borders, battles that consumed cities. A retreating army might have destroyed it. A conquering force might have abandoned it. Plague. Roman baths were sometimes blamed for spreading disease. If illness struck, the waters once thought healing could become symbols of death. The site could have been cursed, abandoned in fear. Politics. Perhaps a powerful family fell, their name erased, their properties seized. The spa, once a monument to wealth, would have been left to rot. Nature, floods, earthquakes, shifting rivers, any could bury a building whole. The earth is history's greatest editor. But here is the mystery. None of these explanations fit neatly. The spa seems not destroyed, but hidden, preserved, waiting, silent, which leaves us with more questions than answers. The farmer's discovery drew the world's eyes. Reporters came, villagers gathered, cameras rolled, archaeologists crouched in the dirt, brushing soil from stone, their faces lit by the sun and by awe. Piece by piece, the bathhouse re-emerged. Hypocaust pillars still standing, walls etched with Roman marks, mosaics glowing in patterns of gods and geometry. It had not been destroyed. It had not been lost to fire. It had simply waited, protected by soil, sealed away like a time capsule, as if history itself had chosen to save it. Each day revealed more. A carved oil lamp, a fragment of marble, a section of pool still lined with waterproof concrete. Every find was a sentence in a story thought erased. For the archaeologists, it was one of the greatest finds of the decade. For the villagers, it was a reminder that beneath ordinary lives, extraordinary histories can sleep. For the world, it was proof that the past is never finished. The rediscovery of this Roman spa is not just about ancient tiles or crumbling walls. It is about perspective. For centuries, this land looked ordinary, just rolling fields and farmland. Yet beneath it, an entire world was waiting. Finds like this remind us that history is alive. It is not locked in books or museums. It is beneath our feet, waiting for a hand to brush the soil away. It proves that Rome was not only about armies and conquest, It was about building culture, bringing luxury into corners of Europe we never imagined. It forces us to ask how much of what we know about Rome is incomplete, how many other chapters lie buried. Because if a spa like this could lie hidden for 1,700 years, how much more is waiting? Temples, tombs, cities, perhaps entire civilizations lost to soil and time. Pompeii slept for nearly 2,000 years before it was uncovered. Göbekli Tepe lay buried for 12,000 years before modern eyes saw its stones. This Roman spa is another reminder that history is not finished. It is a living puzzle, with pieces still hidden. And the real question, the one we are left with, is this: what will the Earth give up next?